And we're live.
Hi, everybody. We're so excited to be here. This is Monday, but we're doing Hidden Gems. This is kind of crazy, but we just thought, hey, we got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, there's a new streaming service in town.
That's right, because we didn't have enough. So they saw the void.
As if.
I decided. Yes. So we are going to be talking about Paramount Plus, and we're going to give an overall review of the streaming platform, and then also give our traditional 5 picks each for Hidden Gems. And this actually doesn't feel all that new to me, this platform, because I have been a subscriber to CBS All Access for quite a while. And there's really not that much that's different between CBS All Access and Paramount Plus. The reason why I've been a subscriber to CBS All Access for so long is because I'm a huge Survivor fan, and they had all the seasons on there. And I also used to do a recap of Star Trek Discovery. And that's why.
Did that last?
I think we covered 2 seasons, and then I didn't do it anymore.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you even lasted 2.
Yeah, I didn't mind the show. I thought it was actually pretty entertaining, very cinematic, but I'm not a purist when it comes to Star Trek. I haven't seen a ton of the original series. I've seen a few episodes here and there, so I think maybe that's partly why I was maybe a little more open to it than other people. You weren't a fan of the show?
It was okay. Like it. I don't think anything has really come close to capturing the original magic of the original show, Next Generation, or even some of the movies. It's I really didn't warm up to the J.J. Abrams movies. Star Trek 2009 was all right. Star Trek 2 was not good at all. And Star Trek Beyond was fun, but it was like a Fast and Furious movie, but with Star Trek stuff in there, which is ironic considering that Justin Lin directed Star Trek Beyond and directed and had also directed some of the better Fast and Furious movies. So it's it all balances out. But Star Trek Discovery, it's okay. I don't know. I just felt like there was something missing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely taking kind of an R-rated approach and isn't as much about the sort of the exploration and the goodwill kind of the original series. But I still overall enjoyed it. But I think I just was just too busy. I don't know if it was during the holidays when season 3 aired or what it was, but I was just too busy. And so I didn't, it lost me, the show.
Well, I mean, Hallmark sends you 20 million Christmas movies to review every year. So something's got to go on the back burner.
Yeah. And so, but there was a big, I guess, get for them, a big enterprise for them. I mean, they spent a lot of money. Yeah, they spent a lot of money on Star Trek Discovery. It was not cheap, and that was one thing that impressed me is just the production values and it was very cinematic in its approach, and so I don't know, it's interesting. I mean, if people want to listen to our recaps, me and my friend Tom. For Star Trek Discovery, I'll put the link in there. And I've done a couple episodes on Survivor, talking about Survivor here and there. I did one last year on Hallmarky's podcast with my friend Haley, and we talked about one of the actors in one of the Hallmark movies was on Survivor, Wyatt Nash. And so that was kind of our in to talking about Survivor as well.
Everything is interconnected.
That's right. So I'll put a link down to that too. It was pretty entertaining. But yeah, I love Survivor. And so that was part of the reason why I kind of knew about CBS All Access. So were you subscribed to it as well?
I kind of cheated a little and had the trial just to watch like Star Trek Discovery, and then I just kind of fell off of it. I wanted to come back because I had the feeling that that show Yellowstone would be on there, but then it's on Peacock. So
Peacock. Yeah.
but having gone back onto it, I'm actually quite surprised at the amount of variety that they did have. I'm especially, and I guess we're jumping into the review portion of the episode, but I liked I liked the Nicktoons and the Nickelodeon side of things because I was a Disney Channel person. I was never really that much of a Nickelodeon guy. I had my favorite shows like a Drake and Josh and Zoe 101 and Victorious and those shows, but
yeah,
I never really got into the classic shows like Ren and Stimpy and Cat Dog and Hey
that was
Arnold
more
and
my
all that.
generation. Yeah.
But now that they're on Paramount Plus, I have more of a need to want to see what they're all about. I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about the setup. So for Paramount Plus, it's $10 a month for ad free and then $6 a month with ads. So, and I don't mind watching the ads too much. The only thing that's kind of annoying is that when they just play the same ads every ad break, like, do we have to watch the same 3 ads over and over again?
You should watch YouTube with like no YouTube Premium, just regular YouTube for like a straight 6-month period. They played the same ad for I think it was Modelo beer, and I have nothing against the company of Modelo, but it was like like Modelo has a heart of a champion. I'm like, yes, we got it. You have the heart of a champion. Like, make a commercial about something else now. It's that same Modelo commercial played for like a straight 6 months. It was especially during COVID because, you know, it was still all the we praise our essential workers. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. We should praise our essential workers wholeheartedly, but the same commercial, it's like
over and over.
After the essential workers get home, they need to have a beer. It's like make. And
I feel like it's a million Progressive and Geico ads. It's like, I've got insurance already. Please stop. But yeah, so they also in June, I guess, according to this article I read, that the price of the base tier will drop to $5, but you'll lose the local CBS stations. So in order to keep those, you have to have the $10 in June. And that's something that's unique about this service. And the only other one that's similar would be Peacock, is that you get all of the CBS content. You can watch live TV through this one. And so if you're a cord cutter, that could be a way that you get to, watch sports, CBS sports, and whatever is playing live on the television. So if you wanted to watch local news or something like that, you could. 24-hour streaming sports news service. It says Paramount Plus also integrates CBS's 24-hour streaming sports news service, CBS Sports HQ, and will stream more than 1,000 live sporting events per year, including NFL on CBS and the Masters. So they also have a connection with Comedy Central. So I guess this says they
Comedy
go find a lot.
Central, BET, MTV, and that's just like a cursory glance.
Yeah. So that's kind of nice if you're a sports fan, or if you want the local programming, then that's nice. So the original programming that they have, we've already talked a little bit about the Star Trek catalog, they call it. They have Star Trek Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks, which are the new shows. I haven't seen either Picard or Lower Decks. I heard Lower Decks is very bad.
All I know about Lower Decks is that Sean Chandler did an amazing review of it. Like the intro is burned into my mind. Like, Sean Chandler is a very stoic guy when it comes to like not stoic, but he has like a good poker face about how he feels about movies. But when he starts the video with his head in his hands, and he does the face wipe thing,
Yeah.
like he's like, "What have I done with my life?" And he just starts with "Wow," and is like, "Well, he must have loved it."
Yeah. They have 20 exclusive originals. So that includes, like I said, the Star Wars. It's got the Twilight Zone, which was the reboot that was produced by Jordan Peele, and The Stand, which is I think is from Stephen King, if I'm not mistaken.
The book is about like this thick.
Oh my gosh!
Like you could probably break a window with that thing.
There's also The Good Fight, which is a spinoff from
The Good Wife.
The Good Wife, which I guess is pretty popular. Christine Baranski, I think, is in that. Then there's a lot of programming for children. There is SpongeBob and Nickelodeon's library of nearly 7,000 episodes. And they have The Last Airbender, Avatar, The Last Airbender, Paw Patrol, iCarly, and they have the new SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. And I was thinking we would do a full-on review of this movie, but I don't know. I just didn't really care for it very much. Do you end up watching it? Did you get a chance to watch it?
No, I think SpongeBob is kind of like The Simpsons. It's had its day, but it's gone well past its shelf life.
Yeah, and I mean, and I honestly quite enjoyed the first two movies, but this just felt so bland. And I mean, I just said in my review, my little Twitter review, I said I didn't mind the animation and it had some laughs, but a lot of it felt in poor taste for a family film. Like there's this huge long section where they're in a casino and there's all these, I don't know, I just felt I didn't really like that, and people are gambling, and then I said also outdated jokes, like there's a Kenny G character, and I guess it's in the show, but I'm like, what kid thinks that's funny?
Yeah.
Like, do kids even know what that means? Like, what is
yes, the Gen Z icon, Kenny G.
right.
And I like his music, but you know, I get that he's like for a far different generation.
Yeah.
Like,
it's kind of like Scoob having a Simon Cowell joke. It's like, was this been sitting on a shelf for 10 years? Like what?
There was a Simon Cowell joke in Scoob. I haven't seen it. Like,
yeah, there was.
I kind of see most. I avoid most Hanna-Barbera movies because I grew up watching 90% of Hanna-Barbera's output, even the obscure stuff like Space Ghost and the Galaxy Trio, Birdman, not the Michael Keaton movie, like Birdman, like that one, and Young Samson and Goliath. I'm working my way through that, and just I love that stuff. And so whenever it seems like every single time, no matter what Hanna-Barbera movie it is, they somehow find a way to screw it up. And so that's why I'm not going to watch the new Tom and Jerry movie, because I'm just like I have zero interest in it, because they're going to find some way to mess it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like the only person in the world who enjoyed that movie, but yeah, I do think that in general Hanna-Barbera is a big kind of hole in my animation movie watching experience. I don't know why, but I'm not all that familiar.
Well, Hanna-Barbera is very important to the world of animation.
Oh, I know. I absolutely do. I just, for whatever reason, that's like a blind spot that I have.
The Flintstones was the first, if one of the first, not the first, primetime animated shows, and
yeah,
that
absolutely
that will forever be important because of that.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the other thing about the SpongeBob Sponge on the Run is that like the last third of the movie is really a soft pilot for the Camp Coral show, and like they're even like flat out introducing characters, and I don't know, it felt very wedged in. It reminded me of the introduction of the Justice League and Batman v Superman. It's like they've even got icons. Here we go. And so I thought it was a weak entry, even though I did like the animation and had a couple funny jokes, but I'd probably give it a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got a couple comments here. Aaron Johnson, he says, I watched a little bit of Picard and Lower Decks when it originally came out. Lower Decks is okay, but it can improve. Picard is an interesting show, though it can improve. So there you go. Very good. And then we have another one from him. He says, SpongeBob is a fun cartoon. I get a laugh every time from the characters. The arguments between Mr. Krabs and Squidward are hilarious. Yeah, I enjoy. I'm certainly no expert, but I enjoy SpongeBob. The episodes I've seen have been fun, and I did like both of the 2 previous movies. They were a lot more madcap and crazy and surreal than this one. I mean, the only real surrealist elements in this one was the Keanu Reeves, who's actually a sage, like literally a sage. Piece of sage.
I'm fairly certain that Keanu had no idea he was being filmed. I think in between like shoots, like, Mr. Reeves, we're gonna need you for something. It's just like 5 minutes, and we're like, right. Okay, sure. And so they recorded this random dialogue. It'd be like, we must put this somewhere in our SpongeBob movie. What if this doesn't make any sense? Just, it's Keanu. People are gonna love it anyway. Like.
Yeah.
It worked so well for Cyberpunk 77 or 2077. Oh, wait.
Yeah. So let's see, I'm just thinking what other shows that we want to talk about. Oh, they're starting a reboot of The Real World for reality TV fans, The Real World Homecoming. And they're bringing back the original 7 cast members, and they're promising 1 new reality show series each month for Paramount Plus. So that's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a pretty big promise. So
well, they have the money to do it. Let's see if they can live up to it.
I guess so, yeah. And let's see what else here. You can download up to 25 shows on your mobile device, and you can stream on 3 devices at once. So you can have 3 different televisions as part of your account. So that's nice. And so then so if you were going to consider signing up for Paramount Plus, would you be interested? Would it appeal to you?
I would say yes. And I look at these streaming services for like a specific thing that's like, okay, as long as that's here, I will stick around. Like, I've been getting a massive kick out of Discovery Plus because it has the original Mythbusters on there, has the Great Food Truck Race on there, has Iron Chef America on there, has Diners, Drives, and Dives on there. I could go on, but these are shows that I loved watching growing up, and having the knowledge of knowing I can turn on Discovery Plus and pull up any of those episodes that I want to, that's just a very nice feeling. And same with Paramount Plus. I can pull up Drake and Josh, iCarly, Victorious, Zoe 101, The Amanda Show. I could go on and on, but having the knowledge of knowing that I can get that like in a few seconds is worth it for me. And the rest of the stuff is kind of ancillary. I mean, it's got Raiders of the Lost Ark on there, but I already own that. Mm-hmm. It's got all the Godfather movies on there. I already own those. So that's fine for everyone else who doesn't have those.
And it has a bunch of Mission Impossible movies.
Right.
On there. That's a big Paramount thing. It says here that Paramount Plus, they are going to be having an upcoming originals, including a Halo series based on the hit video game franchise, a CG animation update of the Nickelodeon's Rugrats, a revival of Frasier, which I'm very, very skeptical about this.
Why would you ever remake Frasier? I mean,
because I just, you got to have John Mahoney. He was the counterbalance to, and he's passed away, so you can't have him. And so I just don't know how you do that show without him. Like, he was the the balance to Frasier and Niles. You needed that,
That's like making Seinfeld without George Costanza. I mean,
Yeah.
you're missing something here.
Yeah, or like without Elaine. Like you need all of the pieces. So I'm very skeptical about that. But I mean, it feels like they might be pushing their luck because Frasier is, I think, without question, the most successful spinoff ever. I mean,
Wait,
from Cheers.
it was?
Oh yeah. Frasier Crane was on Cheers, and then they spin it off into his own show, and so yeah,
I was today years old when I knew about this.
yeah, and Kelsey Grammer has been playing Frasier Crane for like 20 years. He played the character, which is pretty amazing. Because I think, I could be wrong, but I think the Cheers had 7 or 8 years. And then Frasier had 11 seasons. So,
and Frasier won too many awards to mention.
Yeah. So then they are doing a animated Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. It's coming up, which should be.
No.
It's going to be better than Shyamalan, at least.
I'm sorry. I Legend of Korra was okay. I liked it fine, but the 3 seasons of Avatar: The Last Airbender are like Michael Phelps winning all of those gold medals in Beijing. I mean, you can certainly try, but that's an unattainable feat. Like it's like Avatar: The Last Airbender is like way up here. Everyone else is playing at the kids' table down here. It's like trying to climb Everest. You can try, but it's just never going to be the same. And maybe I'm nostalgic. I watched all the episodes when they premiered on Nickelodeon, so maybe I have rose-tinted glasses, but Avatar: The Last Airbender is just top quality.
Yeah.
It's like if it were a wine, it would be stored in like the deepest, darkest corners of Napa Valley and only opened on like special occasions, like once every 10 years or so, when there's like a 100th birthday or something. You only break it out when it's the right time and the right place.
But I kind of want them to do it though, because I think that they need a good Avatar: Last Airbender movie. Like we can't have the only movie version be the Shyamalan.
I don't think Avatar: The Last Airbender can be a movie or even a series of movies because the show was perfectly paced in that it had a definitive beginning, middle, and end. Water, earth, and fire. Water was establishing everything, showing that even though Aang is kind of a pacifist, like the Avatar is not to be messed with. The Earth chapter is The Empire Strikes Back, where it's like everything just completely falls apart. Earth Kingdom gets taken over. Spoiler alert. Yeah. And then fire is where things get worse, but then at the end, Aang rises above and destroys Fire Lord Ozai. And it's in one of the most cathartic finales ever. Even though it was 5 parts, I watched all of them. I remember it vividly. My dad and I were on vacation in Charlotte, North Carolina with a friend of his, and I begged my father to watch it, and he wanted to watch it too, so we just ended up watching it together. I don't know. I just have a lot of good memories with this show. Like I said, rose-tinted glasses. But,
no, it's a great show for sure. I haven't watched it all. I need to. It's so hard to find time sometimes. But I really was impressed with what I saw. So also they say that there's going to be a new Criminal Minds series and then 2 spin-offs from Yellowstone. But NBC Peacock has the rights to the first 3 seasons of that show, but I guess they're going to have the spin-offs. And then they're bringing back Behind the Music, which I love those kinds of shows. I'm such a
that's good stuff right there.
Yeah. And MTV Unplugged, which should be really fun. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
But, oh, yeah. I mean, I could never forget. I remember watching on YouTube one night years ago, the legendary MTV Unplugged session where Oasis had their massive breakdown, where it was either Liam or Noel just was like, screw this, I'm done. And he just goes up to the balcony and heckles Noel down below. And they're trying to play. And he's like, you guys suck. It is just, It's
Yeah, I mean
the
there was
things you can't forget.
yeah, and there was Epic Eric Clapton Unplugged. That was one of the most popular episodes and albums of it was like I don't know, right when I was in it was like 98 something like that, right when I was in
Eric
high school.
Clapton is a stone cold legend. There's no
Yeah.
getting around it.
Yeah. So they're also going to have some movies that are going to be coming. It says about a month and a half after they premiere in theaters. Quiet Place 2, Mission Impossible 7 will both arrive on Paramount Plus to stream 45 days after they first hit theaters. And that will make Quiet Place 2 available on November 1st. Mission Impossible 7 on January 3rd, and your most anticipated Paw Patrol, the movie, should land on Paramount Plus on October 4th.
Spare me.
So there we go. Yeah, I mean, I think that I would probably, I just feel like for $5 basically, starting, I mean, that's like one trip to McDonald's. I mean, I feel like it's worth it for that.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's do our recommendations. So I will start. And if you haven't listened to the Hidden Gems podcast, what we do is we each give 5 recommendations for movies that aren't maybe the top billing of the service. Try to dig a little deeper. Sometimes we do shows as well. But my first recommendation is a romantic comedy called IQ. And I think it is very underrated. It's so charming. It's got Meg Ryan and Tim Robbins. And Meg Ryan is this brilliant scientist. And she is also Albert Einstein's granddaughter. Or niece. And anyway, Albert Einstein is played by Walter Matthau. He's so good. And there's these kind of troupe that follow Albert Einstein around. I'm sure they're real scientists. I just don't know their names. But they're hilarious. These old guys that are always getting into trouble. And Tim Robbins plays a auto mechanic who is also very into science and science fiction and things like that. And they basically ends up this sort of scheme of them kind of tricking Meg Ryan into thinking that Tim Robbins is super like genius, super smart. And it's charming. It's really cute. I don't know why. I don't know. It's not more talked about as one of the really fun romantic comedies of the 90s. So
I don't think anyone had a better year of 1994 than Tim Robbins. Like he was in this movie, and then he was also in a little movie called The Shawshank Redemption,
that's true. I forgot about that.
I'm sure some of you have seen. It's kind of fallen under the radar. It's only number 1 on IMDb.
Right. Yeah, no, that's true. I didn't think of that, but you're right. And Stephen Fry plays Meg Ryan's fiance.
Oh, I love me some Stephen Fry.
Mm-hmm.
I love me some Walter Matthau. Like, he was just the best. He was one of the very best comedic actors of his day. Like, everything from Odd Couple, like, to even serious stuff like the original Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, to The Odd Couple. And spoiler alert, something related to The Odd Couple is one of my recommendations. But we'll get there when we get there. But just Walter Matthau was just the best. And
I think you'd like this IQ. It's really fun. I really do.
Like the original Bad News Bears, like just I could go on.
All right. Well, what's your first pick?
So my first choice is from 1996. It's a crime movie, and it is called Albino Alligator. This was directed by Kevin Spacey, and yes, I know we all know what happened there. I'm not a fan of his, but he directed a good movie, and sometimes I gotta call a spade a spade. And this movie tells the story of a group of 3 criminals played by Matt Dillon, Faye Dunaway, and Gary Sinise. They hold up this bar to try and rob it. However, someone mistakes them as criminals, but much more serious criminals, which calls in the FBI. And so these 3 have to figure out how to get out of the situation with the money while also saying, hey, we're criminals, but we're not the We are not the criminals you are looking for. This is a movie that I watched kind of randomly because about a couple years ago, I tried to watch all of the movies that were released in 1997, and I got through about 85% of them. I watched a good chunk of them. And when I heard about Albino Alligator, I later learned that it was like released in December of 96, which I guess doesn't really count as 97, but even still, I was taken aback by how good this movie was. And it kind of reminded me of a Hitchcock movie and the whole wrong man kind of thing. And the strongest point that I could say about this movie is just the chemistry between all of the actors. Matt Dillon's really good. Faye Dunaway, we all know who she is. Gary Sinise is awesome. You got guys in there like William Fichtner, who plays one of the FBI guys. So does Viggo Mortensen, who was in Lord of the Rings and Green Book and has had a long career. Joe Mantegna's in there. This is a very stacked cast. And so this is more of an actor-driven movie than, like, say, a story-driven movie. It's just essentially Kevin Spacey going, okay, guys, here's your dialogue. Fill out the rest from there. And that's kind of why I think it works. It's just actors playing off of each other, and that's why it's really good.
I've never heard of this one, I have to admit. Never heard of it. So that sounds cool. All right. Well, my next pick, speaking of Hitchcock, my next pick is a Hitchcock film. It's called To Catch a Thief. And this is a pretty popular movie, I guess, but I feel like it's one of the lesser talked about Hitchcock films of his catalog. And it's got Cary Grant and Grace Kelly, and she is a rich woman who is staying at this hotel, and there's this cat burglar, and he may or may not be the cat burglar, and it's very, very stylish and classy and romantic, and basically you have Cary Grant kind of doing what Cary Grant does and doing it very well and beautifully, beautifully filmed. It's one of those movies that when you watch it, you can see like, oh, that influenced that movie and that movie and that movie and that movie and that movie. And it's not scary like some of his other movies. This is almost more of like a heist movie kind of. So yeah, it's a good one.
I think with Hitchcock, he has like 3 or 4 movies that are seen as undisputed classics, like Vertigo, North by Northwest, Notorious, and Rear Window. And then there are others. Psycho, thank you. And then there are others and then there's the rest that people are like, oh yeah, he did direct that. But people forget that he also directed The Birds. He directed The Trouble with Harry, which I just watched recently. Very weird movie, but still very well filmed. And I'll admit, I haven't really seen To Catch a Thief, but I've heard good things. I mean, it's Cary Grant and Grace Kelly. I think those are like 2 of Hitchcock's favorite people to work with. I believe in an interview, Hitchcock said that Cary Grant was his favorite actor that he ever worked with. And considering that he's worked with guys like James Stewart and Claude Rains and others, like that's high praise.
The whole thing is like set in Monte Carlo, and it's very lush and beautiful, and yeah, it's charming. It's a good one, especially if you don't like the more scary ones like Psycho. Then this would be a good one. It's just a thriller, like mild thriller. It's a heist movie, basically.
This kind of sounds like a good Hitchcock movie to kind of grandfather you in to his movies, and then watch Psycho and be like, what was that? What was that?
Right, that's right. So, what is your next pick?
So, my next pick is an action movie, and it stars my main man, Kurt Russell, and it is called Breakdown. This was directed by a man named Jonathan Maslow, who unfortunately directed Terminator 3, but he also directed U-571, so bit hit or miss, but thankfully Breakdown is really good. It tells the story of a married couple. The man is played by Kurt Russell, and they're driving along the lone California highway. But then, when they stop at a rest stop, Kurt Russell's wife gets kidnapped, and, well, she gets kidnapped by some rogue truckers. And, well, let's just say it's a poor day to be a trucker because Kurt Russell's like, he whips out his unique set of skills and pulls a Liam Neeson and just destroys them. There's much more to this movie than that, but that's the basic premise of it. This movie's not out here trying to be Shakespeare. It's not trying to be Wells. It's not trying to be this big Oscar bait movie. This is straight up an action movie, and that's what Kurt Russell does best, and he's the best part of this movie by a significant margin. He does a lot of his own stunts, and considering that it involves a lot of big diesel trucks, like 100,000 things could go wrong, and it's all done incredibly well. There's a lot of good fake outs in here too. Like, not very general spoilers, but there's a part in this movie where Kurt Russell has to get a certain amount of money, and he ends up withdrawing all $1 bills, and the truck driver realizes it too late, and he's like, these are nothing but ones. And Kurt Russell's like, stop the truck, and he's got the sawed-off shotgun to his face, and like, that was a great little reveal that happened there. This is very much a late 90s action movie. It's not going to move the needle in terms of storytelling, but as kind of like escapist action movie stuff, it's very underrated, I feel.
Cool. I hadn't heard of that one either. So this is why we do the show. This is what's fun.
Encourages you to go past the first page on the on insert streaming service here.
Yeah, that's right. So my next pick is not going to be a surprise to anybody who knows me, but it is The Beautician and the Beast. And this has a very low Rotten Tomatoes score. I don't care. I really love it. I love Fran Drescher. This is basically the nanny in movie form. She plays a woman who is hired by this Eastern European dictator guy to be the teacher for his kids because she's a great cosmetology teacher, and the guy gets confused and thinks she's a great teacher in general. Anyway, and there's a lot of satire about like this. There's a whole scene where she is basically Ava Perón and like riling up the crowd and getting all the workers to rebel, and there's this whole scene where she is like dealing with this chicken and that's really funny. If you don't like Fran Drescher, you're not going to like this movie. I love Fran Drescher and adore her. So of course I am going to enjoy this movie. And Timothy Dalton, really funny as this, like, I don't know, as this dictator guy. And you can't overthink it. It's just a silly, stupid movie, but I enjoy it.
So wait, you like Fran Drescher? Allow me a minute to absorb the shock of this announcement. It's not like you have a podcast dedicated to her most famous show.
That's right. And I got to interview her and I just about died.
And you bragged about it to me for a week.
That's right.
Like, I couldn't remove this smile off your face for a solid week.
Yes, still to this day. I love her, and I just think she's really funny, and I think the script is funny, and it's just one of, like, this is my go-to answer if somebody asks what's your guilty pleasure movie. This is it. Do I have any illusions this is like a great movie? No, of course not. But does it make me laugh? Yes, it does. And do I join Fran? Yes, it does. And so there you go. That's all I need. So that's my third pick. We have a comment from Aaron. He says, my first pick from looking at Paramount Plus is Blue Chips with Nick Nolte from the 48 Hours movies, where Nolte is a basketball coach that on the brink of losing a losing season. He makes a risky trade. I think that Shaquille O'Neal's in that, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen it, but
hang on, let me check IMDb. Blue Chips, 1994. Shaquille O'Neal. Yeah,
there we go. It's certainly better than his big breakout Kazam.
Kazam is a bit of a guilty pleasure. I love the scene where he makes all the fast food rain from the sky.
Nice.
I mean, I think Shaquille O'Neal is like super underrated as just like a dude. Like consider like he's just such a success story. He won 4 or 5 championships with the Lakers. He's so successful on NBA on TNT. He just wrestled in All Elite Wrestling just the other night. And he went through 2 tables. It was incredible. So over the years, I've gotten a bit of a new respect for Shaquille O'Neal. Can't make a 3-throw to save his life, but I mean, neither can I. So there we are.
He was in a bunch of the Adam Sandler ones.
Real,
but yeah, and he was in
Friends Don't Let Friends be in Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah,
directed by Paul Thomas Anderson or the Safdie brothers.
So, what is your next pick?
So my next pick is from 1996, and it is a combination of many things that I love. Director Robert Rodriguez, script writer Quentin Tarantino, and also star actor George Clooney, vampires, and Tom Savini. The movie is called From Dusk Till Dawn. It tells the story of two criminal brothers named Seth and Richard Gecko, played by George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino. After they rob a bank, they're trying to get to Mexico to escape to certain freedom. However, they make a brief pit stop at a truck stop that is named, and this is a Catholic stream, so I can't really say the name of the bar, but it's essentially called a name that rhymes with pity and then twister.
Okay, good.
I'm sure you all can figure it out. Which this bar just so happens to be occupied by vampires. No, I'm not kidding. That is the movie we're in for. For some, this will be like, what is Ryan smoking? Like, what is he doing? But this is a combination of many things that I genuinely love. And this was at a time when Quentin Tarantino was just about to hit superstardom, or was there. 2 years before this, he had written and directed Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. He was in the middle of his approaching his peak. And George Clooney was about to become the biggest thing in Hollywood at the time. Harvey Keitel is in there. He's been fairly consistent for years. Tom Savini, who is primarily known for his makeup work in the Romero of the Dead movies, and as an actor himself, he's really good in there as well. This movie has no aversions of being this high art piece. This is very much like a grindhouse movie, like you would see in the late 70s and early 80s, like Grindhouse and Planet Terror and Death Proof and all these other movies. This is a tribute to those kind of movies. If you go into it with that mindset, you're going to really enjoy it. At least I did. I think I'm going to be reviewing it for Scary Mania this coming year.
Cool. Well, my next pick, this is a left turn, as you like to say.
We've been doing a lot of those.
Is the movie Amelie. Have you ever heard of Amelie?
Yes, I bought it at a garage sale a couple months ago. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I know of it and I know what it is.
Yeah, it's really charming. It stars Audrey Tautou, and she is Amelie, and she's kind of a quirky, cute young lady who decides to start kind of interfering in everyone's life and starts matchmaking and trying to make everybody happy. And she ends up kind of finding love along the way. And it has a very kind of specific style to it. If you've ever seen Wes Anderson, it's kind of along those lines, I would say. It's kind of in that camp of the style of kind of a Wes Anderson-y type style. It uses music really well. It's if you want to watch kind of an artistic movie that's not super pretentious, that's really crowd pleasing but still artsy, then I think that this is a very good option for you.
Is this with subtitles?
Yes.
That's what I French. I don't have a problem with that. It just, when I hear about the plot, it just, something says to me that must have subtitles.
Yeah, yeah, it has subtitles, and evidently they even made a Broadway musical off of it, which you can understand because it has music in it. And I don't know, it's just very charming. It's one of those movies that's like I can't imagine. I mean, I guess some of it has some R-rated content. That might be the only thing some people might not like, but other than that, I think it's very crowd pleasing. So, what about you? What's your next pick?
So my next pick, and this was the pick that I teased earlier when it's related to The Odd Couple. It's The Odd Couple 2. This was released in 1998, and this movie was not really well liked by critics, even though it was Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau returning to Felix and Oscar respectively. People were like, they're still acting? Like, what is this? But I've always loved this movie. I try and watch it every year along with the original Odd Couple, and it's Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. You can't go wrong. This is the sequel to The Odd Couple. It's been about 20 years since Felix and Oscar saw each other, and through a twist of fate, I believe the order is Felix's daughter and Oscar's son are getting married, and so this causes them to reunite, and well, shenanigans ensue. This movie was directed by Howard Dutch, who directed a lot of John Hughes written movies like Some Kind of Wonderful and Pretty in Pink. And this was written. I can speak tonight. It was written by Neil Simon, who created The Odd Couple in the first place. This is not as good as the original Odd Couple. I'm just going to get that out of the way right now. It is a step down, but what I love about it is that it's Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Even though they were getting up there in age, they never lost their touch. And it was like, as soon as they got into a room together, it was like friends, or well, in this case, frenemies, I suppose. You could just tell the dynamic of this relationship when they see each other in this movie for the first time. They see each other in the airport. They're like, Oscar, Felix! And they run to each other. And then Felix trips over something and they just collide in midair. And the next scene is Oscar wheeling Felix out in a wheelchair. And he's like, why did you jump at me? And like, I didn't, I tripped. And I'm like, well, then you should have been watching where you were going. It's just them trading shots at each other. And this line describes the relationship in a nutshell. When for like the third time in a row, they go to this police station, they're arrested. And Oscar's like, there was about a 17-year period where we didn't speak to each other. It was the best years of our lives. It's fantastic. Again, it's a definite step down from the original, but again, it's Neil Simon writing, it's Walter Matthau, and it's Jack Lemmon. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. Cool. I've never seen that one either. So I'll have to check that. We need to do a follow-up one of these episodes pretty soon, I think, because there's a lot of good stuff. So my last recommendation is the Wild Thornberries movie. I think of all of those shows during that era of Nickelodeon animation, I think the Wild Thornberries is the least appreciated, and I think that's a shame because I think it's actually one of the best of that group. I think that the animation is beautiful and all the voice work is great and it has a ton of heart. And if you want to learn more about my thoughts on Wild Thornberries, the Wild Thornberries movie, we did a whole episode of obscure animation on it. And then I also reviewed it for Family Movie Night. So I've talked a lot about it, but I really love it. And I mean, this not only is the animation just beautiful, it's definitely a step up from the TV show, but you also have Paul Simon doing the music for this. So that's really cool. And it's the story. People don't know about the story with the show. There's this family, the Thornberries family, that all live in Africa making videos, nature documentaries and things. And something happens and the oldest girl ends up, or not the oldest girl, the middle girl ends up getting powers so that she can talk to animals and she can hear what the animals are saying. And so she starts to realize there might be something going on in the savannah in Africa with some poachers. And So that becomes kind of the story. But it's really good. I think kids will really like it. And I like Eliza as a character. I like her sister, who's Debbie, who's hilarious. And so, yeah. Have you ever seen The Wild Thornberries?
Oh yeah, I've actually seen the Wild Thornberries movie. I used to have the VHS, the bright orange VHS. Like it's one of those VHSs that
Me
you
too.
shouldn't miss.
Yeah.
I think it's gotten lost in this house somewhere, but I'll find it one day. And the song "Father and Daughter" by Paul Simon just gets me right here every time. I listen to the YouTube video version of it, and I scroll through the comments of like people who are like, my son died last year or my daughter died last year and I thought of this song, or it's like, this is my daughter and I's favorite song. And it's just like, Paul Simon was an incredibly talented songwriter and still is, but I think this is subtly one of his finest works. It nails the message perfectly.
Yeah.
If I have a daughter, I'm certainly going to show her this song.
And like incredible voice cast. You have Lacey Chabert, Tom Kane, Tim Curry, Lynn Redgrave, Daniel Harris. You have Mae Whitman, Marissa Tomei, Rupert Everett, Alfre Woodward. Like incredible.
Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
That's right. And I think this is one of the better examples of a animated television show movie and being really, really well done, really good. So that is my last pick. What's your last pick?
So my last pick is from 2001, and it is AI, artificial intelligence. Considering who produced this movie and who directed it, Stanley Kubrick and Steven Spielberg respectively, you would think to yourself, Ryan, that's not a hidden gem. Well, for me it is, because this was Stanley Kubrick's last movie that he had any involvement in. And the story of the making of this movie is in many ways more interesting than the movie itself. To make a long story short, Stanley Kubrick and Steven Spielberg were lifelong friends. And so Spielberg and Kubrick went back and forth on like, okay, who's going to direct this? It was Kubrick, then it was Spielberg. And finally, Kubrick said, fine, I'll do it after I direct Eyes Wide Shut. Directed Eyes Wide Shut. Then soon after Eyes Wide Shut, Kubrick passed away. And so Spielberg was like, I guess it's up to me now. And so he directed this movie with Kubrick still getting a producer's credit. And this is not really well liked, especially in terms of Steven Spielberg films. But for me personally, I do understand why people wouldn't like it, but I've always enjoyed it. I thought that it took a lot of risks, and considering who's behind the camera, I think the risks did pay off. I think the ending is very weird, and it's all dependent on your tolerance for that kind of stuff. But again, I can see why this is a very divisive movie, but I've always liked it. I think Haley Joel Osment was really good. My boy Jude Law is in there. He's really good as well. It's a really good cast. It looks beautiful. I think for Spielberg trying to mimic Kubrick's very unique visual style, I think he managed to pull it off. And like I said, this movie I think is far more interesting as an experiment of who is going to direct it where than what we eventually got. But at the same time, with this cast and this director, I think it has become obscure, and I hope that changes soon.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely feel sort of the Kubrickian and Spielbergian kind of modes kind of at each other in this.
Yeah, let's make no bones about it. Steven Spielberg and Stanley Kubrick are like oil and water when it comes to directing. Like Kubrick always made like these very slow, artistic, kind of cerebral movies like 2001, Clockwork Orange, Full Metal Jacket. And Steven Spielberg always made these fun and whimsical movies, and with some horror elements in there, but no matter how dark it got, it always snapped right back to the fun and the adventurous. It's kind of like a Frank Capra movie. No matter how dark it get, it would always go back to the emotional through line.
Yeah, because even in his ones that aren't like whimsical at all, like your Amistad and your Schindler's List and your Munich, he still manages to make them have kind of an inspirational core to them, which I think in a way makes them crowd pleasing despite being, these tough topics, right? They're kind of movies that you leave feeling moved and as opposed to Kubrick, where his films, even his war films like Paths of Glory, movies like that, his movies are more for sort of you to really think, and they're not as I don't know, they're just different. It's more of a philosophical treatise than a inspirational narrative. So you can feel that, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly not the worst of Spielberg, that's for sure. So I think it's worth a watch. Yeah. So, all right. Well, very good. We did it. We give our recommendations. And so let us know what you think of our recommendations. What do you see on Paramount Plus that excites you? What do you think of the service? Are you going to subscribe? We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments section or on Twitter. And so, Ryan, where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. Then there's, of course, my YouTube channel, which is just called Ryan Cam. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who checked out my Movie Nerds Club video and to checking out all of the other videos in the Movie Nerds Club. That's Rachel over there. I know my directions. Larry from LC Screen Talk, Ren over at Ren Geekness, Alyssa over at Mainly Movies, and Zach Pope over at his channel. I love being a part of the Movie Nerds Club. As a matter of fact, I said in our group chat we should all meet up one day and get shawarma at the end of the Avengers. So
that's right.
and I just want to say thank you to you all for watching that, and thank you to all of you who checked out my first reaction to Only Yesterday. That's a kind of difficult movie to talk about because it has a kind of a controversial distribution history. I go more into it in the review. But the Ghibli reviews have been taking off. I think Grave of the Fireflies just crossed 70 views, which is a record for me, especially recently. So thank you to you all for that. I released my Only Yesterday video, last night to be specific. Coming up in this next week, I'll be releasing my new release roundup, where I'll be talking about all the movies I saw, the new releases that I saw in January and February. And then this coming Sunday, I'll be doing a deep dive into one of my favorite comedies, The Big Lebowski, and trying to ask the question, is The Big Lebowski about anything? So be sure to check that out.
Great. Yeah, y'all should definitely subscribe. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that. And if you are watching this live stream on YouTube, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. And also check out Hallmarky's podcast. We got some good interviews coming up. We got some really fun stuff. So you won't want to miss it. And thanks, everybody. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.